Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Paleo Springs State Park. So what we are building here today is we are building a education complex, education center. Now, I have a feeling just right off the bat that this video isn't going to do as well as the last video, the cave bear one. If you are one of the people that did watch that video, that is currently, as of recording this, the most watched video on my channel. So thank you. I genuinely cannot thank you enough for that. I absolutely love the support that I'm getting doing all this kind of stuff, and really encourages me to keep going and to keep doing this. But what we're building here again is a education complex, an education center, and the goal of this is to have an area where namely students and schools can come and experience the park and have a little area to come and have a field trip, basically. So at the museum that I used to work for, part of my job there had to do with education very, very heavily. So I was in the education department there, and I did field trips day in and day out. So I saw kids of all ages. Mostly, though, we dealt with 5th to 8th grade. If you're in the US, you'll understand that. But yeah, we dealt with mostly those age ranges there. And, it always cheered me up. It made me happy seeing the kids come to this place that they'd never been to, most of them, and experiencing something, learning something new. And the museum that I used to work for had the world's most complete skeleton of a Erymatherium laurelardi, or giant ground sloth, one subspecies of giant ground sloth. Not to be confused, of course, with the Megatherium that they are hopefully going to be putting in this game relatively soon. I don't have any insider knowledge on when they're going to be adding that. I've heard mixed things. I've heard they're going to be adding it sometime in the far future. I've heard that they're going to be adding it, maybe a little bit sooner. I don't know. I hope they add Erymatherium or Megatherium. I hope they add both as a alternative species, like they've done with a lot of the animals here. Just because Erymatherium is such a cool creature. It is a ground sloth at the end of the day. It's just a ground sloth, just another type of ground sloth. So it is pretty cool. But yeah, so what we're building here is basically just like any other building. We are building the walls here. I'm trying out this double layer wall so that we have the concrete or the bricks on the outside, and then we have the wood lining the inside. I didn't want it to line everywhere. You'll see at the end, this is actually a pretty long speed build, and this is already sped up quite a decent bit. But you'll see at the end that I end up replacing majority of this building with the wood slats that you see there. And I think it looks pretty good, but of course, I obviously let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love reading that stuff. I love hearing your thoughts on how I can improve, how I can get better. But what we're building here right now is the upper level, the sort of corporate, quote unquote, office side of things. Now this building here is based off of a building that I saw on Pinterest, and I'll put that video or that image up here now. And this building here, I believe, is called the Ford Education Center. I forget exactly where it is, Arizona, I believe. If you're from the area and you know this building, feel free to drop a comment below. Let me know that this is one of your home buildings, I guess. But yeah, there's this really cool multi-story glass compound on top, and I wanted to try to recreate that. That's what initially caught my eye and made it so that I wanted to try to recreate this building as our education center. I went on Pinterest again, and there's a ton of examples. Pinterest is a wonderful place if you are someone who needs ideas for this kind of stuff. And on there, if you type in education center, you get all sorts of ideas. You get all sorts of images. And of course, very few of them have their credits, have anything to do with where they're actually from. So when I find something that does have credit to it, like the Ford Education Center, I of course want to try to give that if I can. I realize though, and you all don't realize this now, I will have to go back through and make this glass part a little bit taller, because one of my ideas that I tried to do off camera was hide the large, what's it called? The large nursery. The large nursery, yes. Yeah, the large nursery, so that we can hatch large sauropods and things like that. I tried to hide one inside this corporate office, and it fits width-wise, but height-wise, it doesn't fit. What you're seeing me do right here, though, is trying to block out these windows. I didn't want it so that you could see through them. And again, this kind of goes to where we were going to hide that nursery building in there. So what I ended up doing was using these glass pieces, and you'll see whenever I turn the camera, or you'll see in the live play, yeah, right there. This effect is incredible. I love this. I love the fact that we still get that glass look here from the outside, and it still looks like glass and acts like glass. But you can't see through. And to me, whenever I go see, office buildings and stuff in my normal daily life, when I see office buildings, you very rarely can see inside of them. So one of the things that I wanted to do, of course, was make it so that you could not see inside these offices up here, which I think turned out pretty well. Now, again, I am going to have to make that a couple stories taller. We're using something that we would use in Planet Coaster. If you watched any of those videos, I talked about it, where we talked about forced perspective. It's something that they do a lot at Disney. Of the upper stories, they build smaller. The windows are technically smaller, and it gives you a sense that the building is actually bigger than it actually is. So these school buses here, I absolutely adore them. They are not mine. They're not my creation, and I will give full credit. The links are down below if you would like those on the Steam workshop. They are from a person named Adahir, however you pronounce it. I am so sorry if you're watching this and you are the creator of this and I'm mispronouncing your name. I am not doing that intentionally, but their vehicles that they make are incredible. They are unbelievable. So we've used the school buses here from that creator as well as their coach buses. And you'll see maybe peeking through here that I actually have some at the bus station that that I built off camera, just kind of playing around with update 13 to try to get the feel for the controls again, and to actually have a parking lot in this park again. Again, I didn't want you all to watch that. You've already seen 2 episodes on that sort of stuff. Yeah, so what you can see me doing here is I realized that the building is not quite as center as I'd like it to be. Those little tiny pieces, those trim pieces of wood underneath the glass, they're poking through the other pieces of wood. I left it. I couldn't be bothered by this point. This, again, was a very long build. So by this point, I was just kind of done, and I didn't want to have to deal with it anymore. What I'm doing here is I am just trying out a roof piece. Again, we don't end up using that. I'm not entirely thrilled with how the roof ends up on the rest of the building, but this front section where guests can enter, I am pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that slanted roof and the glass sunlight coming through. What I'm doing here, though, is I'm leaving a gap of space to add the name for this education center. I don't have a name. Again, this is based off of the Ford Education Center, but I wanted to pose the question to you all. Let me know what you would like the name to be for this education center. If you have a good name, drop it in the comments below. And if you're lucky and it's a really good name, then I'll put it on this building, and we'll call it the blank education center. So drop your best name down there. Again, keep it PG. Yeah, drop your best name, and we'll see who takes the cake, who wins here. I'm adding this glass here to the classroom. That is just absolutely chef's kiss to me. I love that. The glass in that classroom makes it so that you can't see in. We will pretend that the kids can see out, but we'll make it so that the guests cannot see in. Again, that's sort of just a safety thing. You don't want guests who are walking through this education complex that is open to the public here. You don't want them looking into a classroom with a bunch of school kids. That's a huge safety thing. Yeah, so what I'm adding here, though, is a little mini exhibit. I thought that one of the cool things that could make this education complex, education center, really, really stand out would be one of these mini exhibits. You'll hear me talk more about it in the live play. I kind of have some ideas that I want you all's feedback on. But for now, we have a little mini exhibit here with Archaeopteryx in there. I thought that Archaeopteryx would be a cool animal to have here in this education center, just because there's a lot of stuff that you can learn about Archaeopteryx. I know when I worked at the museum that I used to work for, I would do what's called fossil stage shows. So again, I would have the school groups come in, and they would be on a stage of about probably 200, 250 people. Sometimes we filled it up, sometimes we didn't, just depended on the school. But we would have these kids come, and I would talk about fossils, about all sorts of stuff. Since I'm here in Florida, we wouldn't really talk about dinosaurs, even though that's what they wanted to hear about. But what we would talk about are prehistoric mammals, which, again, you can kind of tell in this park. I love me some prehistoric mammals. But what was I saying with that? Again, my ADHD just gets the best of me, and I talk and ramble, and then I can't remember what I was talking about. What was I talking about? Yes. So, sorry about that. That I'm leaving that unedited so you can hear how long it took me to actually think. What I was talking about, though, right there was the education for Archaeopteryx. So one of the things that I would do when I was doing those stage shows is I would talk about Archaeopteryx, and I would tell the kids, that it's sort of the precursor to dinosaur. It's the sort of in between of dinosaurs and birds. Some of the kids didn't believe it. Down here in Florida, in the very religious South, you kind of get a grab bag of some of them believe it, some of them don't. So yeah, it is what it is. But that's a really cool thing to talk about with Archaeopteryx, and one of the reasons why I threw it here in the education center. But again, in the live play, I'm going to talk about, we have a couple more ideas of things to either replace Archaeopteryx or maybe be in addition to eventually. wait till the end of the video and, just let me know then. Yeah, so what I'm building next here, I didn't want it to just be this mini exhibit. The compound here is pretty bare bones as it is right now. There's not a whole lot in here because, again, this building is kind of not functional, and guests don't really go in here to look around and learn. We don't really have a lot of education pieces, like in Planet Zoo where they have little tactile pieces. Hopefully they add that in the future. I would love to have some like tactile education devices in here for guests to use. That'd be awesome. We already have the binoculars, but we don't have like stand up against the wall to see how big you are. I can make that, sure, but it doesn't actually function, So yeah, so we don't have that here, and that's okay. But what I just built there, again, my ADHD, what I just built there was a dung beetle terrarium. So really the only insects that we have in this game right now are the dung beetles. And they've been here since the early days of early access. Back before we had staff, back before we had keepers who could go and clean up the poop in the habitats. This is how it was done with dung beetles. And so, it's in sort of a homage to them in honor of these dung beetles. I wanted to create this little terrarium. In actuality, I may cut it in half and, push it up against the wall. We'll see what happens in the future with this education complex. This is, in my head right now, sort of a part one. This is a incomplete building, but I wanted to get the look and feel of it in general. So what this is, this little window area, this is a little area into the backstage of the cave bear. I did get a comment on my last video that someone missed the backstage areas because I had talked about how you always try to separate the backstage so that the animals and the keepers are separate so they don't get mauled to death by a prehistoric cave bear or something. I did put that into that exhibit, but it looks a little different. The reason it looks different is it's sort of a take from what modern zoos do, is they try to make everything look and feel as realistic as possible. And so, again, what I ended up doing for the cave bear exhibit was utilizing the cave itself. If you download that blueprint from Steam, you'll notice that it does have a little airlock door inside of the cave. So you can actually have the cave bears go inside the cave and you can separate them out from the rest of the exhibit if you want to. So yeah, but anyway, getting back to it, what that little window was in that hallway looking into the backstage was just, again, another education opportunity for guests to see how the food is actually produced. One of the cool things that I always loved when I would go to the zoo as a kid is to see the backstage areas. I'll never forget seeing the backstage where they had the African lions and seeing the line on the floor of the floor, but it was outside. The yellow line separating how close you could get to that exhibit because, fun fact, those big cats can projectile urinate. So that's why there is a yellow line on the floor, because that's as far as it can go, hopefully. So, yeah, so, I love seeing that kind of stuff, and I know a lot of other people like to see those backstage areas too. So even though technically that window into that backstage lowers the in-game quality of this building, it kind of takes a hit for the quote-unquote park beauty of it, because you can see the grimy backstage areas. I don't care. And I love it, and I think that it is a perfect educational opportunity. But I cannot wait for the day that there are more educational pieces here in Prehistoric Kingdom that we can actually use. One of the things that I did off screen that you'll see in the live play is I added into this main entrance area here. You're going to see me add the restrooms right now, but I added off camera, and again, you'll see in the live play, I added a Tyrannosaurus, what's it called? A Tyrannosaurus sculpture. So the park itself was kind of hurting for, we're sitting here at 1 star in this park. I believe we'll be in 2 stars in the next episode, or maybe in the live play, because I did some tweaking. But the park needed some things just to kind of elevate itself. We've got 5 different species in this park, and it's still at 1 star, and so I wasn't too happy with that. So so I ended up adding the sculpture in there just because it kind of boosts up the in-game stuff there, the in-game man, what is it called? I am so sorry, I'm just blanking tonight. The in-game park beauty, that's what it is. The quality, I guess, that the guests see. Anyway, so this outside area was looking a little bare, so I decided to go ahead and do my regular schmegular thing of adding a little tiny planter box here. I'm absolutely loving the temperate foliage. And then, this might actually be my favorite part. This is very, very basic, very bare bones, but I put these picnic benches here. And this took me back to being a kid almost immediately on a field trip at the zoo. I always remember at the Jacksonville Zoo growing up in Jacksonville, Florida, when we would go on the field trips there, my favorite time was the lunch. It's so silly to talk about, but I loved seeing the animals. I always have. But one of my favorite memories was being at those lunch tables. And I know for a lot of kids with the field trips that I would do when I worked at the museum, they loved lunch too. Hey folks, Editor John here. So don't worry about my last thought that I was gonna say. I was just gonna say that the kids love the lunch too. That's pretty much it. I tend to ramble on, and sometimes I don't look at the timeline to see how much time I actually have left. Anyway, we're going to jump into the live play, so keep watching if you would like to see that. All right, everybody. So we're back here in the live play now, and here's a little overview of the park. We've come a long way. I didn't show you all the parking lot that I built here, and that's just because you all saw 2 videos of me recording a entrance and a parking lot, so I didn't feel like I needed to do that. If you would like to know the sort of techniques on how I did this, go watch the very first 2 videos that we did for Paleo Springs. It sort of explains how we did this stuff here. One thing that I've added, again, everything that I've made here has either been from Critivo or from myself. Now, I did add in here, though, some buses because, again, as I said in the first 2 videos of this series, it never really sits right with me that I don't know how people get here. So I did not make these buses, as well as I didn't make the school buses over there. These are from Edahar on the Steam Workshop. I'll put a link for both of those down in the description below, so you can download those, as well as the education center that we built. So we'll go and just do a little overview of this right now. And you can see here, we have nice little seating outside. One of the things that I always loved when I was a kid and I would go on field trips to zoos is the little eating area. That was always my favorite thing, was to eat lunch and to see the animals, but to eat lunch, that was one of my favorite things. I really like how this turned out here. This, if you didn't watch the speed build, this is just the regular glass pieces. So same as this here, glass piece. But behind it, we've put here, and again, no one's going to see in here, so it doesn't matter. We've put the opaque glass, or non-transparent glass, I guess I should say. And it adds this really cool effect that, yeah, that still looks like glass to me. It sort of reflects like one-way glass would. Similar to down here, though, I think, yeah, this I actually like a little bit more, so I might go back through and change these out here eventually. But yeah, so we'll head inside. What I ended up doing was making this another entrance, so people can choose to go through the main entrance down there, or if it's a school group, or I guess these people are just really curious to see the education center itself, they can come through a little entrance here as well. And right off the bat here, we have a T-Rex statue, kind of a bit of foreshadowing for what is to come in the future. One day we will have T-Rex here in Paleo Springs, though again, not right now. We're kind of focusing on mammals, the Cenozoic era. I've also added in here 2 restrooms. Since this is a challenge park, guests have kind of been complaining about not having enough restrooms here, so I added 2 in here, so now people can come through from the main park itself, which if you saw that last episode, which I believe as of recording this is my most watched video on the channel, which thank you so much for that. That is incredible. But yeah, so people can come through, they can see the bear, and then they can go back through and come to the education center. So it is kind of bare bones right now, and that is okay. We have our little classroom right here, where the school groups can come through, come in here, and go learn about the animals. We also have in here a little viewing area to the backstage. Now, this actually hurts the park beauty for this park, but I don't care, because personally, I think this is awesome. I love seeing this kind of stuff when I go to zoos or to Disney or anything like that. I love seeing this kind of stuff. I love seeing how things work. And I think for an education center, this works really well, because it shows the kids that, the food that these animals are eating doesn't just come out of nowhere. We actually have to make it here in-house, for, I don't know, California state law or something like that. The other 2 things that we've added in here are a dung beetle terrarium. This, I think, is a little bit bigger than I would like. I might scale it down by half and kind of go from there, but I really like the feel, the vibe. I've seen a few people put stuff like this out on the workshop, that, again, you can go download the other people's things that they've made, but I wanted to make my own here because, again, I like making stuff for the most part. The buses are a little crazy, and those are probably about the best buses that I've ever seen on the workshop, so I didn't go through and make those. And the last little addition that we have here in that mini exhibit that we put, we have Archaeopteryx, and this is where I'm going to pose a question to you all of, in this little area, and I'll actually zoom out here so you can see where in this little area right here, what do you all want to see more? Do you want to see Archaeopteryx, Microraptor? I'm also thinking of Leiolinosaurus or Psittacosaurus. I think any one of those 4 would make a great addition to this education center here. in place of where this is now. The only reason why I say that is because, and hear me out, they're going to be updating eventually. Again, this game's still in early access if you're watching this before the 1.0 release. But they're going to change how these little mini exhibits work. And I don't want to have a situation where this becomes obsolete. I feel like it will. I almost know that it probably will, just sort of how the development cycle of this game has gone so far. It's probably going to make it obsolete. Where am I going? Okay, never mind here. It's probably going to make it obsolete. So one of those 4 animals, let me know in the comments below which one you would like to see more, and we'll build that exhibit, we'll build that habitat here on this. When the mini exhibits get updated, I'm planning on making a whole separate other video, and we may actually extend out the education center. We may add a wing to it, if you will, pun not intended. But we may add more mini exhibits once we sort of know how they're gonna look in the 1.0 release. But I love Archaeopteryx, so I added them here because I think they're a good teaching moment. You can teach kids about the sort of bridge between birds and dinosaurs, and this and that, and some other things like that. How their colors mimic magpies of today. So let me know in the comments below which one you like more, which one of those 4. Give me some options, give me some thoughts there. If you think of another small dinosaur that you think would be a cool exhibit, or exhibit, quote unquote exhibit, to add into here that is not Archaeopteryx or Microraptor, let me know, and maybe I'll choose your idea as the best, and maybe I'll name the exhibit after you if you give me a good suggestion. But that's going to do it for me today here in Paleo Springs. Thank you again so much for watching. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. There's a million things you could have been doing, and you chose to spend a little bit of that time here in this little park and watch me build a education center. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Take care for now.